Hello and welcome back to The Good, the Bad, and the Anxious. My name is Rebecca and I am here to document my journey to bariatric surgery and beyond. I am getting the vertical sleeve gastrectomy on January 16th, 2021 at Blossom Bariatrics in Las Vegas. And my stats are down below in the description if you're interested, along with links to my Instagram and some other interesting links. So basically we are less than a week away from my pre-op diet and less than 3 weeks away from my surgery. It's coming up fast. I'm nervous, which is basically what I'm here to talk about today. I want this video to be about my feelings around surgery, the main things I struggled with, and kind of how I coped and the things I'm excited for. So, first thing that I struggled with was depression. Depression, it's many layered. Basically, our entire culture is based around food. Vacations, weddings, date nights, movies, parties, holidays. That's the biggest one. All of it is based around food, and we are expected to eat and drink copious amounts of during those times, multiple times a year. So, after surgery, I won't be able to do those things. It's not that I won't be able to participate in the holiday, obviously. It's just I won't be able to do the one thing that we're expected to do, which is to eat and drink large amounts, and usually things that are high carbohydrates, high sugar. So basically that means that I have to completely reframe all of these activities. And the truth is right now we're in the middle of COVID. So things are going to be maybe a little bit easier because I don't have a lot of those things going on. I was able to, cook my own Thanksgiving and Christmas dinner however the heck I wanted. I made it pretty healthy. I didn't add in a bunch of junk that was bad for me. But that's not always going to be the case, right? When I've got tons of friends and family over, there's going to be tons of sweets and it's going to be different. So I have to reframe those activities to be more about socialization, friends, family, rather than food. And this kind of creates some mourning, some loss of tradition, loss of just what those holidays have been about for the last, almost 34 years of my life. And food is meant to be fuel, right? It's meant to be. And while I do plan on eating more intuitively post-surgery, especially once I've hit my goal, and so I do plan to still have those treats, I don't know what my body is going to be able to tolerate, and I don't also know, I don't know exactly how much I'm going to be able to eat. So with that in mind, I have to go into this kind of, I don't want to say pessimistically, but I have to go into this with the expectation of I may not be able to have most of these things. And so that actually creates some pretty major depression. There are multiple times that I have cried in the last few weeks over food. You could just ask my husband how many times. But I also have kind of a journal that I keep, and it kind of starts out like, what did Rebecca cry about today? So there's a lot of loss there. And it might seem silly to somebody who isn't going through the surgery, but just think about how often in your life your food revolves around life. Your life revolves around food. And, think about that. And I'm basically losing that. Also, I'm a food addict. Hello, my name is Rebecca, and I am addicted to food, the thing that we need to survive. So when you're addicted to food, you basically have to, obviously I can't stop eating, it's not a thing. So I have to sever the connection between emotions, and food. Whatever it is that triggers me to want to eat, I have to sever that connection. So I use food as comfort. I use it basically to fill a hole in my heart that has been there for decades. And until recently, I didn't know that that hole in my heart was actually self-love. So I have been working really hard on filling that hole with self-love instead of self-hatred, and basically severing that connection between myself and food. And after decades of hating myself and decades of filling that hole with food, you can imagine how hard that is to sever that connection. So unfortunately, this has led to a couple things, one of which being depression. Again, crying over food. Sounds silly, but that's what's been happening. And it's also led to some food apathy, which is not been super fun for the last few weeks. I've been severing that connection, and so for the last, I want to say, probably a week or so, a couple days leading up to Christmas, yeah, all of last week basically leading up to Christmas, I was struggling with food apathy. I didn't want to eat, didn't know what to eat. I would sit and literally just like in my kitchen for like an hour until my blood sugar had plummeted and I'm like hangry and upset and I feel like garbage and I just don't know what to eat until I finally just eat something. And then there's also this weird, because I've got a week left of kind of a normal diet before surgery, before pre-op diet, there's this pressure to like have my favorite foods before I can't anymore. And so then I come up to a meal and I get to that meal and I go, no, I should eat something that, you know, I might not eat for the next year or two or three or forever. You never know. So I need to make this meal count. Like, it needs to be worth something. And then I have no idea what to eat. And then I just kind of sit there and I go, I don't know, like, what am I supposed to eat? And then then on top of that, I'll like start to eat something and then halfway through realize that the emotion, that thing that has been there for so many years that I've been wanting to get from food, is gone. And so then I lose interest partway through the meal, or just like, I don't know, it's been a very surreal experience. And then occasionally I'll find a food that I like and that actually tastes good, and all of a sudden I'll overeat that food. Not binge eat, I haven't been binging, which is amazing, but I'll overeat that food and then, just kind of feel like garbage afterwards. And it's been a very confusing journey and has created a lot of depression, surprisingly. I know that might sound strange to some people, but it's been a weird place to be. And I hope that cycle breaks soon, basically. So on to the next thing that I've been feeling, which is anxiety. Surgery is a massive change. It is probably the biggest thing I've ever done. It's bigger than getting married. It's bigger than losing a career. It's bigger than starting a career. It's bigger than everything. I'm giving up a vice, actually multiple vices, that I've used for decades. I'm giving up my self-hatred. I'm giving and I'm trying instead to care for myself. I'm giving up using food as comfort. I'm giving up hiding behind a fat body. I'm basically dropping my armor that I have built up for years to keep the world out, and that's terrifying. I mean, I'm stepping out of my comfort zone so unbelievably far. It's terrifying. I also have a massive fear of lots of other things. Complications from surgery. I've never had major surgery. Loose skin. Weirdly enough, I find fat bodies way more attractive than I find loose skin. And I'm scared of loose skin, and that's something silly to be scared of, but it's what I'm scared of. I'm scared of losing control. I'm scared of failing. I'm scared that this surgery won't work, that I will have gone through all of this for nothing, and that my body still won't do what I want it to do. I'm scared of losing friendships, and I'm scared of getting divorced. The divorce rate after surgery is pretty high, and even though I think that, my husband and I are pretty solid and we talk a lot about these kinds of things and the changes that are going to be coming up. You know, I'm basically in the middle of rediscovering who I am in the middle of our marriage, and that's scary for both of us. So I'm doing my best, and I know that this too shall pass, and I've been using a few different coping mechanisms, because I've been waking up with panic attacks in the middle of the night, which I've never had before, and just kind of dealing with this constant level of anxiety all the time. So I use a couple different things, including my anxiety meds. But one last thing I want to touch on is basically my fear of surgery, because I'll go into some of the things that have been helping me cope in a minute. But I'm terrified of surgery, never had major surgery, and this fear is the single biggest thing that has stopped me from getting surgery for the last decade. Basically surgery for me represents the ultimate vulnerability, the ultimate giving up of control. And I'm somebody who very much likes control. I have to be naked on a table and let somebody do things to my body that I may have given consent for ahead of time, but have no way to rescind that consent partway through. And I just have to also put my life in someone else's hands and trust that they're going to safeguard it in the way that I would want. And it's just, when you've dealt with a lot of trauma in your life, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this, that feeling of giving everything up and just putting it in someone else's hands and being like, here, fucking do with it what you want, I have no control, is the scariest thing I have ever done. So, basically what that means is, as soon as I did finally have the courage to do this, when I walked in that door and told my husband, well, I'm doing this, I wanted to move forward, full steam ahead, no stops. Let's do this. Let's do it as fast as possible. And I decided this in September, and here we are at the end of December. It's only been only 3.5 months or something, or 4 months between when I decided to do this and when I'm actually getting the surgery. So it's been very fast. A lot of people who go, and I'll talk about this probably in my next video, but a lot of people who go through this process have a solid 6 months, a year wait time, and they have all these hoops they have to jump through with insurance, which I didn't have to do. And technically I could have picked an earlier surgery date. Blossom did have a couple dates in December open, and I just said, you know what, no, I want to get through the holidays and then I'll tackle this. I'm making myself anxious just thinking about it right now. I have this hard knot in my stomach that feels like a rock. Okay. So, on to the things that have helped me. Like I said, anxiety meds. There's no shame in that. If you need, I know that I need them right now, and I won't need them forever, but I need them to get through this right now, and that's okay. Therapy. I go to therapy every week, 2 different therapists that do different things. And especially I'm using guided meditation and mindfulness. I will link meditation down in the description, specifically related to surgery. It's a surgery related guided meditation. And I'm doing that, and it's helping. I'm not saying it's perfect. Nothing is, but it definitely helps. And then also I've had some pretty big moments of clarity, basically 3 of them. The first being realizing that this is only temporary discomfort for monumental, long-term, lifelong gain. We live in an instant gratification society, and sometimes my momentary anxiety and fear feels like it's the be-all, end-all, that this is always going to be this way. And being able to see beyond that moment has been key. It sounds stupid to say that I've never really done that before, but I really haven't. I've just kind of allowed myself to be consumed by this ever-present anxiety, and I keep thinking now I keep thinking, no, there's life beyond this. There's something beyond this severe anxiety about surgery that you, and about this whole thing, this whole process that you're dealing with. There is something beyond this, and it's going to be amazing, and you're doing this for yourself. Number 2 is changing my mental narrative. I have been telling myself, oh my gosh, this is the scariest thing I've ever done. And a couple days ago, I thought, hold on, if I keep telling myself it's the scariest thing, then it's going to be the scariest thing. So instead, I swapped the narrative, and now I'm saying this is the bravest thing that I have ever done. And that has, that's helped a lot. And then finally, the third thing is something that actually a couple of my friends said to me. I was in the middle of a panic attack, and I messaged them, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I'm dealing with. I'm so scared of losing control. I'm so scared of not having this control. And they were like, hold on, Rebecca, you are in total control because you are choosing this. And that was kind of this like, oh shit, yeah, you're right. I have control because I can back out at any second. I'm not going to, but I can. I have that ability and I have that choice. And I am choosing to move forward with this surgery regardless of my anxiety and my fear. And really, it's all up to me. So those are basically the things that have helped a lot and helped me move beyond my fear and my anxiety and my depression and keep going. I'm not saying things are perfect. I'm still terrified. I still have bad days, but keeping those things in mind and using those tools that I have available to me really have kept me moving, in the right direction. So the things I'm excited for, I'll touch on those as quick as I can. Basically, I am excited to be able to do things again. It sounds really silly, but being able to bend over, lie flat, roll over in bed easily, sounds stupid. Be able to walk for more than, a quarter of a mile, run, jump, sit on the floor comfortably. You never really realize kind of what things you're adapting to as you get heavier. You just kind of accept that you're not gonna be able to do things the same way as everybody else, and you just accept that, and then you adapt to it, and then you never really notice that things have been different. Like I've actually said to my husband a couple times, like, I don't remember what it's like to be a normal size. I was a normal size for 18, 19, 20 years of my life, and then suddenly I wasn't. And my weight's just packed on. And for the last decade and some change, I've just kind of been like, yeah, this is normal. It's not fucking normal. Okay. So for example, I can sprain my ankle right now, like stepping off of a stair or out of a doorway. Literally, I just have to step just the slightest bit wrong and I could sprain an ankle. So therefore I have this deep-seated fear of climbing on step ladders. And I'm scared of basically being up off the ground at all. And I'm not that scared of heights, but I've developed this fear of heights because I know that if I fall even a little bit, I will fall hard and I will break bones. And it won't just be a simple oh yeah, Rebecca fell over and she's a little bit flustered, but she's fine. It's no, Rebecca fell over and she broke something. This summer I had to kind of bail sideways out of a chair because there was fire coming at my face because I was sitting way too close to the fire, and the fire, anyways, I had to bail sideways out of a chair. And normally I probably only fell this far to the ground. I didn't fall more than a foot and a half to the ground onto my left hip. And my left shoulder, but I actually ended up tweaking my shoulder, and I ended up with a bruise this big on my thigh, on my hip. I could have broken my hip. That sounds so stupid, but when you're this heavy and there's that much force every time, you stop doing simple things. I don't stand on a step stool. I call my husband in to do it. Sounds stupid, but I'm so excited to be able to do those simple things that I can't do anymore because of my size. And then of course there are some other things. I'm excited to play indoor soccer and have my body actually do what I want it to do. I'm excited to be in a swimsuit and not get stared at. I'm excited to go snowboarding again. I'm excited to go backpacking and hiking again. When I left high school, things kind of drastically changed. I was really, really active for the first, 18 years of my life. I had a lot of external structure that my parents put in. And I suddenly went to college and had no structure and no one told me what to do, and I was broke and I had no money, so I couldn't go do activities like snowboarding because it was like $50 a pop to go for one day of snowboarding, and I didn't have that. Plus you had to get up there. And also I was extremely depressed when I was, first in college. So basically I stopped doing all the things I wanted to do, and I all of a sudden lived across the street from a McDonald's, and I'd never had McDonald's before. I grew up not eating any fast food. So suddenly I lived across the street from a McDonald's, and I'm no longer doing the activities I used to do, and I don't play sports because I didn't want to be an athlete in college. I wanted to focus on college. And I started overeating and partying, and all of my friends partied, and nobody wanted to go snowboarding with me. Basically all of a sudden, I got out of college, stopped all of my activities, and a couple years later I was too heavy to do any of them. So I'm looking forward to being able to live the last 15 years of my life again. I'm looking forward to doing all of those activities that I used to love to do as a kid, as an adult, and actually get to enjoy my life. That's what I'm looking forward to. So those are all my feelings. Once again, I've hit about 20 minutes. That seems to be about the average length of my videos. Yeah, that's plenty for today. My next video, I want to talk about my pre-op diet that's coming up, and a little bit about doing surgery without insurance coverage, and just kind of what that's been like. So thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe below if you want to continue following my journey, and take care.